No. Okay, a couple of things. I've now started the recording, just so you guys are aware. The recording is active. Lane, not appropriate. These are the exact same questions from QLearn, but I've mentioned to you guys before that sometimes I'll split them up on QLearn. So question 1 and 2, for example, might actually be the same thing on the exam. So I've put that in the Word document here so that you can see what is that actually going to look like on the exam format. So this one, for example, you remember there's that question about finding the volume of a sphere. And then the next question after that is finding the capacity. We're not actually going to do that as two separate questions. It's just going to be part A, part B, just so that you're aware of how that might look. If you prefer this Word document format, you can again find it on the OneNote, double-click that first document, and then you'll have it there. What was the question we were going from? 13?
Yeah.
13.
Sir, why is this saying?
No, yeah, that's why on the QLearn it says in your notebooks, plot this graph. But then in the exam will actually give you a graph to plot. What does that mean? We can't sign you in because the domain is not available. I'm not sure. But that's okay, let's just listen up for now and then we can figure it out later. Right now,
I didn't do that.
For now, I would like us to kind of put pens down. Let's make sure we can all do the complex, familiar question. So question 13 is the one I'm working on, the QLearn. That actually ends up being question 8 because we're going to combine questions with a part A, part B. So what are we doing? Alexis sells handmade scented soaps at a market for $6.50 each. The amount she earns, that's her revenue. So every single time she sells a soap, maybe she gets $10 or something, she actually gets $6.50. Alright, she's going to get $6.50 from her customers. That's the equation there for her revenue. However, even though she gets $6.50, that's not her profit. You have to subtract the amount it costs her to make. So let's say, for example, if it costs her $6.50 that she gets every time she sells it, but it cost her $4 to make, she's only making $2.50 in profit. We're going to have to use these equations to figure it out. We've got our revenue equation. R is equal to 6.5M. And then the cost equation is 16 plus 2.5M. It doesn't really matter, but we just have to know that there's an equation we can use. Question A, you are asked to solve the simultaneous equations algebraically to determine the break-even point between getting the amount of money for selling soap and the amount that it costs to make them. Now, the term break-even is something that I'm hoping is not new to you all, but in case it is, break-even...
I broke even in...
What does it mean, Lane?
Break even, it's like you break even, we just break even.
What does that mean, though? What does it mean to break even?
Get even. Like, say you're down in blackjack, like $500, and then you win $500.
So you haven't lost anything, that's what it means. Break even means you haven't lost, but you haven't gained anything either. No. You haven't lost or gained. That's what it means to break even. In other words, they are equal. So for question A, if you're asked to find the break-even point, you're looking for the relationship that the revenue is equal to the cost. The amount of money you get is equal to the amount of money it costs. Okay, so you're not going to make any money, but you're not going to lose any money. We want to figure out how much do we need to sell so that we don't lose money. Alright, that is the key point. I'm going to do a little star because that's really important. R is equal to C. That's just what you're going to have to remember, that R equals C. The way I could probably give you as a suggestion is you can see there's two equations. There's an R and there's a C. Make them equal.
What do they stand for?
Revenue, the amount you get. Cost, the amount it costs to make it. R equals C. Revenue is equal to cost. That is the key equation. We now need to solve it. So what I'm going to do is substitute. Instead of saying R, I'm going to use the equation for R. So R is equal to 6.5M in my example. You guys might have something different on QLearn. 6.5M. And my cost equation, that's here, it's 16 plus 2.5M. Okay. Now that I've done that substitution, it's starting to look like an algebraic equation. I've got some letters, and I've got numbers. Same thing like always, numbers on one side, letters on the other. Should I change this to black? Is that a bit hard to see? I see it in the video. I think it's fine.
Oh, wait, on the phone.
How about the back? Should I change it to black? It's fine? Okay.
Can you see it on the phone?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's fine, but I think we can just see it. Alright, I can see that I've got letters on both sides. Normally we have numbers on both sides, but because we have the letters, we want to get the letters on both sides. So I'm going to move this 2.5 over to here. I'm not going to change my 6.5. That's staying there. Haven't done anything to it. So 6.5n. And I'm moving this one here. It's currently positive. What's it going to become?
Negative.
Negative 2.5n. And that's equal to 16. So all I've done is move 2.5n. Now we can start to simplify. What is 6.5 minus 2.5? 4. So I've got 4n is equal to 16. 4n is equal to 16. Now I've got this equation 4 times n is 16. What's the opposite of times 4? Divide by 4 instead to get rid of that. So n is equal to 16 divided by 4, which is equal to 4. So we've figured out we need to sell 4 soaps to break even. But I want you guys to check that as well. So that's also part of doing the simultaneous equations. You need to check your answer. How do we check our answer?
Do you get marks for that?
Yes, absolutely. I need you to check your answer. I'll even say here, check by substituting n equals 4. Alright, that's what we're substituting. N equals 4 into both equations. Into both R and C. Because we want to make sure that it's the same amount of money. The revenue is the same as the cost. Okay, so let's do the revenue equation. Revenue. Okay. I'll do this one first. I'd love you to be able to concentrate and listen to me, okay? R is equal to 6.5n. I'm just going to write the equation. But we know what n is. We know what n is. We've just found it. It's 4. So I've got 6.5 times by 4. Can someone with a calculator please do that for me? I think it's 26. 6.5 times 4. Yep, cool. Alright, so the revenue is equal to 26. We've checked that. The cost should be the exact same. If it's not, you haven't broken even. There's a difference of what we want to. So let's check that. The cost now. I'm going to write the cost equation out. It's equal to 16 plus 2.5n. Again, you guys will have something different. I'm substituting in, instead of saying 2.5n, I'm going to say 2.5 times 4. That's equal to 16. 2.5 times 4 is 10. Again, you'll have a calculator. 16 plus 10 is 26. Have we broken even?
Yeah.
Perfect. So then to finish off this question, write a sentence. The break-even point is n equals 4 and the cost / revenue is $26. Okay, so that's question A done. This one here. Because I've substituted n as 4. Oh, we're just checking that these numbers are the same thing. Because the whole point of break even is that your revenue equals cost. If it didn't equal, we didn't break even. But because they're the same thing, we have broken even. So that's the first question done. That's A.
It's a lot of writing for one question.
I'm trying to make it big though so we can all see. When I did it on the OneNote, which I can quickly skim to, it didn't take me that long. So that's kind of question A there. Same kind of steps. And you can see now where it's being marked. R equals C, do some rearranging, find that n is 4, that's 1 mark. Find the revenue, find the cost, tell me the break-even point. I'm going to rub this off now. Is everyone cool if I rub it off?
No.
Again, it's on the OneNote, so we can look at it there too.
Oh, yeah.
I'll leave up the last bit. And hopefully that'll be fine. I'll get that too. Question B. Alright. Thank you guys and girls. Question B, Alexis estimates that she's going to make a profit of $48 if she sells 16 soaps. We are asked, is her estimation reasonable? In other words, we need to actually just figure out how much profit is she going to get if she sells 16 soaps. Now this is something you guys will have to remember. The way that we calculate the profit is equal to the revenue minus the cost. You have to remember this relationship. Okay? And it's not too hard. If I do the same example from before, if I sell you something and you pay me $10, but it cost me $6 to make, my profit's only $4. It's the difference between the two, alright? It's the difference between the two. Revenue minus the cost.
Let me write that down, mate.
Good idea.
P equals
Now it'll be up to 14.
minus C. What was the other one? R equals C.
Oh, your question was, I had to answer. Wait,
R
what's the
equals
B?
C.
Profit. P for profit. Profit, revenue, cost. Okay, so that's the relationship you guys will have to remember. Let's now figure that out. So we need to figure out how much revenue is she going to get if she sells 16 soaps, and how much is it going to cost her. So let's figure that out. Revenue for 16 soaps.
How much does soap cost? 650.
650.
650 times 16.
That's right. And we can use that equation there, that the revenue is 6.5 times n. And you've already figured it out for us. Because n is equal to 16, we're doing 6.5 times 16. Can someone please do that in their calculator for me?
Do that in my head. That's
Also,
like-
is this just like another...
Question
Oh,
B.
is this part B?
This is B. But on the Q-learn, it's a whole separate question.
Right, okay.
Because I can't do part A, part B on Q-learn.
But on Q-learn, it's not like... Oh, it is.
104.5.
So what are you actually trying to figure out?
Sorry, write that down. I'm talking.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
What we're trying to figure out is we're trying to see if she's right. She reckons if she sells 16 soaps, she's going to get $48 profit.
So that's the equation for that.
We're going to try and figure it out. We're going to calculate her profit by ourselves and see if she's right. So can someone please do that, Tyrone? You've normally got a calculator. Number of soaps. N number of soaps. 6.5 times 16. This is a revenue, 140.
104. Tell me
104.
Tell me that's what I
That
said.
was pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close. So that's our revenue. But we also need to figure out the cost. So we're going to use the cost equation. The cost for 16 soaps. Okay, let's use the cost equation now. The cost is 16 plus 2.5n. N is equal to 16, so let's put that in.
2.5. I don't understand.
That's just the equation that we were given. It could be anything. That tells me that maybe just by starting her business it costs $16, and then every soap costs $2.50. Something like that maybe. Maybe it's her website costs $16, something like that. 2.5, and then every single soap we make times 16. Can someone please do that in the calculator for me? 16 plus 2.5 times 16. $56. So that's her cost. And because we now have both the revenue and the cost, we can figure out the profit. So profit, how do we find it again?
Revenue minus cost.
Revenue minus cost. Our revenue is here, it's 104. 104 minus the cost, which was $56. Minus 56. So how much profit did she make? 104 minus 56. $48. Alright. She reckons she was going to make a profit of $48. Was it reasonable?
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what we were meant to find. Okay, so yes, her estimation was reasonable. Was reasonable because the profit is $48. I'll say is indeed $48. Okay. Is indeed $48. So that's how you do question B. You've got to figure out the revenue, got to figure out the cost, minus the 2. That's the profit.
Yeah.
Okay, once you've copied that down, we'll move on to the last question.
Okay.
This question is probably actually a little bit harder than this one.
This question's hard.
This one's probably a little bit harder than this, because you guys have to remember these relationships.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
I just feel like there's so many other things that we have to remember from today. I've literally forgotten everything. Like, what else have we done? Are we doing shapes?
Yeah, we've got total surface area, we've got volume, we've got capacity.
Is it the same as last year?
No. So last time we did 2D shapes, we're now looking at 3D.
Well, yeah, we just keep it.
Pretty much, yeah.
So do you have to know what shapes are?
You got to use the formula sheet.
But will we get a new formula sheet with the... Well, then that's fine.
Should be fine, right?
If we're getting the formulas, like, surely...
Surely.
Wait, what else did we do? We did something else and there was something new.
How about I go through this question and then we can backtrack to what we need to know.
Oh, we did Y and X stuff.
We did. Simultaneous equations. Alright. Listening up, thanks guys. The recording is still going, just so you know. Let's do this next question. Last one. Again, it's a part A and a part B. We've got Farron, he's bought a new car and it cost him 30 grand. Its value depreciates by $6,000 a year. Let V be the value of the car after 2 years. We are asked to write down a linear equation in V and T to represent the situation and model it after 1.5 years. I think Lane's already figured out the answer, but we have to write the equation first.
And after 5
Is
years.
this another version of the question? Or is this a new?
Next question down.
This was question.
V and T.
Alright, if you can see the word linear, which I see it right here, linear model.
Just so
Alright, I'll backtrack. What's up?
On the pretest, one question. So this is question 13 on the pretest.
Yeah, 13.
What was the
Must have been 12.
12?
It's okay, you guys can read, I trust you.
That's the spirit.
Alright. Alright, if you for this question though, which is 13 on the Q line, I apologise. We are asked to write down a linear model. If you hear the word linear, this is your straight line equation. Alright, grade 11. Can we settle back down? Thank you.
It's like so I hate my sister a little while and it's like a rubbery.
Emily.
Sorry. Oh, what is
If you don't want to listen up, that's fine. Remember, you've got the Q line there, but you can work through it quietly. Thank you. If you see the word linear, you're thinking this equation, but it explicitly asks you to do it in terms of V and T. We have to change this equation a little bit. Okay?
So V equals.
It's going to become V equals. Y becomes V. M doesn't change. X becomes T plus C. So we need to figure out what's the gradient and what's C. Okay? M is our gradient. Just because they've asked us to do that. The V and T. How do we know that? I want you to... The technical answer is what's the independent and dependent variable. We're not going to worry about that. You guys, I want you to think about how would I plot this? Is the... Sorry? Anytime you get time, time will be down here. T is always becomes the X.
So V is the value of the car, which is 30k.
And V is the Y, that's right. So the value is going to go down over time, isn't it? The value of the car is going to decrease. That's what we're trying to figure out. Okay. Let's figure out what's our gradient and what's our C. I'm going to move pen because this is kind of dying on me. Now, M is our gradient,
Which is the years.
but it's also, what the gradient means, it's the rate of change. So what is changing? The 6,000, sweet. Okay, so our M, that's going to be equal to 6,000, but we need to be careful because it says it's depreciating. So is the value going up or down? Down, which means that our gradient is negative. Negative 6,000, okay? So we figured out 1. I'll do a little box around it. That's our gradient. We figured that out. And our C, that's our y-intercept. But we also call it the starting amount,
30,000.
which is 30,000. So that's our starting amount, which we started the car as $30,000. Which means that our equation is V is, this pen's dying too. V is equal to negative 6,000. Alright, we're using M. We figured that out here. It's negative 6,000. T plus 30,000.
And then T
That's
is
our C.
1.5.
It will be, that's right. First part that we've done it, we made a linear model, and now we are using this model to predict it after 1.5 years. So that means, yes, T is equal to 1.5.
Which will be 21,000.
Will it?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
After 1.5 years.
That sounds about right. Let's use our equation then. So V is equal to negative 6,000. Instead of writing T, what am I doing?
1.5.
Yep.
Multiply.
Times by 1.5, multiply, plus 30,000. So I'm just using the equation.
And then it equals 21,000.
And then it does in fact equal 21,000. Lane can do it in a 10. So the value of the car after 1.5 years is $21,000.
And after 5 years, we'll have a value.
You already figured it out? Okay. I'll show you how we get some marks of working out though. Copy it down and then we'll do the last question.
6 times 5 is 30.
But what if it was different numbers? Would you know how to do it then? Okay. So I'll give you an equation that we can use. For this though, the only main thing we need to remember, gradient, that's the thing that's changing. Y-intercept, that's your starting amount. Whatever you start with, that's your y-intercept.
That baby. Like, I was and T, like, all separate. What was the first one? Sorry.
It kind of goes without saying as well that when you're doing your exam, make sure you're writing sentences after every time. Okay? Okay, thanks grade 11. Let's get this done. Last question. When will the car have 0 value? Should be the next one. 14. Alright, 3, 2, 1. Thanks grade 11. Last question. Question 14 on the Q line. When will the car have 0 value? Now, Lane can do it in his head, but I want to make sure you're all getting points. The value is equal to 0. So V equals 0. We can think about those 3 steps that I told you, right? We want it to have 0 value. V equals 0. Our 3 steps are, number 1, write what you know. V equals 0. Step number 2, we write the equation. V is equal to negative 6,000 T plus 30,000. Okay. Step 1, we write what we know. The value is 0. Step 2, write the equation. And then step 3, we substitute. Instead of saying V, what am I going to say? That it's 0. So I'm going to write 0. The car has 0 value. 0 value. So 0 equals negative 6,000 T plus 30,000. Alright, Hannah. Lane. I know you're excited, but we've got to relax. Okay. Same thing like always. We want to get letters on one side, numbers on the other. I can see my letter is here, but there's also numbers on both sides. Let's put the number over here. Okay?
Why are you putting just the letter over?
Doesn't need to. We can put the letter over.
Yeah, can we do that?
Let's put the letter over. Sure thing. Put the letter over. 6,000. All right. This is grade 11. It's currently negative. If I move it over, it becomes positive 6,000 T, and that'll be equal to 30,000. What's your question? You can, but I would like you to actually show this working, okay? Yes, shows are working out, absolutely. This is you understanding what zero value means. Because what if it wasn't zero? What if it was $100? V would be equal to 100 instead. Okay, I know. Now to find the time, 6,000 times by the time. 6,000 times t, what's the opposite of times 6,000?
Divide.
Divide by 6,000. So t is equal to 30,000 divided by 6,000, which is equal to 5. 5 years. So now give me a sentence. After 5 years, the car will have zero value.
That's what I'll say.
Zero value. We aren't exactly done though, because you guys are also asked to do something discussing the reasonableness of the solution. When you're asked to discuss this reasonableness, you have to think, is this a realistic answer? After 5 years, well,
Yes, and say like it's reasonable.
well, it's yes or no, right?
Yeah, can we just say that?
If you say yes,
50-50 chance.
well, it's 50-50, but we could also get it right by just, having an informed guess. Because think about it. If you bought a car, will it be worth $0 in 5 years?
No.
No, of course not. No, this is not reasonable. No, this is not reasonable.
Oh, so you don't have to do any working out.
I want you to give me at least 1 or 2 reasons why. Why is it not reasonable?
Because that's not enough.
What determines the value of a car? Hey? You're absolutely right. Because the value depends on the state of the car. Is it broken? Is it working? If you smash this car up 1 year into it, now it's worth $0. But if it's still running fine in 5 years' time, it's definitely not worth $0. It'll still be worth something. Alright, so no, this is not reasonable because the value depends on the state of the car, the age of the car. In this case, I guess it's 5 years. But I guess the drivability of the car.
Isn't that the same?
The state, yeah, same thing. I'm kind of echoing it myself. I'll leave it there. Okay, so no, it's not reasonable. So your last question on the Q learn for true or false, it is false. It is not reasonable. And that's it. I can now, I guess, give you guys some specific help.